Takeru is tired of the same old commute, the same old job, the same old trip home. This ordinary life is supposed to feel comforting, yet part of him longs for something different. A small taste of the extraordinary. The moment he thinks that, he's suddenly transported to a strange place, standing in front of a white-haired man. The man introduces himself as the one who oversees the solar system. Takeru assumes he must be an alien, but the man says he's closer to a god. He can think of him as middle management for the universe. The man then moves on to the reason he summoned Takeru. No matter how much he tweaks a certain planet, things never go well. Its civilizations keep collapsing again and again, so now he has to intervene directly. Into that world, he plans to drop a single bead, because sometimes a small ripple can grow into a wave big enough to reshape an entire world, and Takeru will be that bead. Takeru protests that the man can't just dump something like that on him out of nowhere, but the man explains that Takeru has already died. If he refuses to go to this other planet, his soul will simply fade away. Takeru can't believe he's dead, but the man continues, saying he won't send him there empty-handed. He will grant him gifts, anything Takeru wishes for. Takeru asks what he means by gifts, but instead of explaining, the man simply starts giving them to him. First, he grants him the ability to use magic along with enormous magical potential. Then he asks if Takeru wants anything else. Without thinking, Takeru blurts out that he wants a cute partner. The man says he can arrange that. Takeru will meet her when the time comes. He also boosts Takeru's scouting skills, gives him a convenient bag to store whatever he gathers, and adds the world's language and several resistances. At that moment, Takeru's body begins to fade. The man says it looks like it's almost time. Reviewing the skills he granted, he admits he might have given Takeru a bit too much. He also notices what Takeru's partner is going to be, and mutters that he hopes that's okay. Concerned, Takeru presses him. What is that supposed to mean? But the man just tells him he'll be fine. Even so, Takeru feels a terrible sense of dread. After that, he wakes up on his new planet. He decides his first step should be finding where people live. After walking for a while, he spots a settlement. But then he realizes that if he shows up penniless, he probably won't even get a meal. That reminds him that the god boosted his scouting skills. But now he has to figure out how to actually use magic. He tries saying random words until he says, "Search," and it works. Symbols appear above various objects in the air. He assumes those mark collectible materials. Then he guesses there might be another command to get more details. After trying more words, he says, "Scan," and a description pops up along with the item's rank. He decides to gather everything marked with a symbol. He even picks up something called anteater droppings, high-ranked poop for some inexplicable reason. By now he's gathered a solid haul, so he figures he should head to the village before the sun goes down. When Takeru reaches the village, he talks with the gatekeeper. The man is surprised because Takeru is unusually tall. He asks if Takeru is a warrior or a swordsman, but Takeru explains he's just there to sell some materials. The gatekeeper is impressed. Material gathering specialists are rare. They don't have a dedicated material shop, but there is a general store, so he should try there. Takeru follows his advice and heads to the shop. The clerk says he hasn't seen Takeru before and asks if he's looking for something. Takeru asks if the clerk would buy the items he collected, and the first thing he shows is the anteater droppings. The clerk is thrilled with it. Its shape, strength, and color are exceptional. He offers 5 silver coins for it. Takeru doesn't know the going rates, so he asks how much a night at an inn costs. The clerk tells him it's 500 rave per night, and 1 silver coin is worth 1,000 rave. Takeru quickly does the mental math. If an inn night equals about 5,000 yen, then this poop is worth 50,000 yen. That's insane. So of course he accepts. The clerk calls it a great deal for both of them and tells Takeru to show him anything else he's gathered. When Takeru empties the rest of his materials, the clerk is shocked he collected everything on his own. Why would he bring all this to a remote village like theirs? Takeru says he's been traveling and gathering different materials along the way. In that case, the clerk says he has a job for him, collecting mithril ore from the eastern mountain. Takeru asks if he has a map. The clerk hands him one immediately and says that since the job is settled, how about 360,000 rave for the materials Takeru brought? Takeru is stunned. That's 3.6 million yen. The clerk adds that the mountains have monsters, but he's counting on him. After that, Takeru finally reaches an inn and can finally breathe. He would kill for a shower or a bath, but then someone knocks on his door. It's a little girl from the inn staff carrying hot water. Takeru asks what he's supposed to do with it, and she explains it's for wiping himself down, his body, his feet, everything. As an adventurer, he must feel dusty. Takeru asks about taking a bath, but she says they don't have anything like that. Only nobles can enjoy one. She's heard some mages know magic that can clean people instantly, but there aren't any in the village. After hearing that, Takeru gives her a tip and thanks her. Once she leaves, He starts testing words again until he finds the magic for cleaning his body. The spell is incredibly useful, yet for a bath lover like him, it still feels frustratingly unsatisfying. The next day, Takeru heads toward the mountains. Along the way, he keeps gathering materials. The next morning, he arrives at the Forest of White Trees, also known as the Forest of Ancient Dragons, a dangerous area where monsters usually run wild. But strangely, his detection magic doesn't pick up a single living creature, not even one. Why? He has no idea. But if nothing is going to attack him, he won't complain. He runs through the forest, hoping to get out quickly. He's going so fast that he doesn't notice a canyon in his path. He falls straight down, certain death, unless he can act fast. He frantically tries different incantations for flying magic until one finally activates, saving him just in time. At the bottom of the canyon, his magic finally detects ores, though not mithril yet. He decides to dig deeper into the canyon walls using explosive magic. Eventually, he succeeds. He discovers mithril veins. He goes so deep that he reaches a natural cave with a crystal-clear underground lake. When he scans the water, his magic reports it as water from the lair of the ancient dragon, ranked SS. Takeru is stunned. He assumes the dragon must have lived there ages ago. He really wants to bring some of the water back, but that means emptying his canteen. His skill says the water is drinkable, so maybe just a quick taste. Suddenly, an ancient dragon emerges from the water. He is surprised that Takeru managed to withstand his pressure. The dragon asks what he is. Takeru says he's human, but the dragon refuses to believe it. He senses overwhelming magic spilling from Takeru, strong enough to wake him from his slumber. Whatever Takeru is, his power rivals the dragon's own. The dragon explains why he appeared. He wants to ask Takeru for help. With Takeru's magic, he might be able to revive his child. The stagnant, corrupted mana in the lake has kept the egg from hatching. The dragon won't ask this for free. He offers Takeru a massive chunk of mithril ore as payment. That offer instantly convinces Takeru. He asks where the unhatched egg is. The dragon brings it out and tells Takeru to pour his magic into it. Takeru obeys, but the egg drains so much power from him that he starts to weaken. He eventually collapses. In his unconsciousness, he meets a man who resembles the white-haired god, but this one has black hair. The new god tells Takeru he really enjoys doing reckless things. Normally, when a dragon appears, people either faint or run for their lives, but Takeru went and changed the rules of the world altogether. The god says he's been fine-tuning this world for hundreds of thousands of years, and Takeru caused ripples everywhere in no time, which annoys him. So that ridiculous blessing the white-haired god gave him, he's going to thin it out a bit. Besides, Takeru was the one who wished for a cute partner, so a little trouble will be good for him. Takeru regains consciousness and sees the newborn dragon that hatched from the egg. The father asks Takeru to give it a name. The little dragon already has a true name, but he wants Takeru to choose an alias. So Takeru names it B. The ancient dragon tells his child to roam the vast world freely. With power that even surpasses his own, he can entrust the newborn to Takeru. He's counting on him. After the intense meeting with the ancient dragon inside the cave, Takeru and his new companion finally step out into the cool night air. Takeru decides that the edge of the woods is the perfect spot for their first campsite together. He looks at the little dragon, realizing this is the creature's very first time seeing the world outside of its birthplace. The transition to life as a dragon caretaker is made easier by a parting gift from the ancient dragon. The massive dragon used magic to link the underground lake where it lives directly to Takeru's item box. This lake contains rank SS underground water, a special mana-infused liquid essential for a dragon's growth. He pours a cup for B, who drinks eagerly and then tries some himself. He finds the water to be incredibly soft and mellow, a far cry from the plain water he is used to. To prepare their meal, Takeru consults an encyclopedia he bought from a merchant. He pulls out magic stones, which are considered precious and rare in this world. However, Takeru possesses the unique ability to create these stones quite easily. He activates a stone with the effect to warm objects, using it as a portable stove to cook a pot of meat soup. This is only his second time making this specific recipe, but he is incredibly proud of the result. He notices B watching him with interest and offers the hatchling some soup. He warns the little dragon that the liquid is still very hot, but the hungry hatchling dives in too quickly and lets out a pained cry. Takeru quickly takes the bowl back and blows on the soup to cool it down. Once the temperature is safe, B laps it up happily. Takeru then asks B if it feels lonely being away from its parent, and the dragon responds with a cute sound that Takeru interprets as a sign of complete trust and affection. Curious about his new friend's potential, Takeru uses his appraisal abilities to check B's skills. He is stunned to see a list of powerful spirit arts covering almost every element, including fire, water, and even darkness. B also possesses the blessing of the ancient dragon and a gift called infinite evolution. Even though the dragon is just a baby, it is already ranked as a rank B creature. Takaru realizes that despite its cute appearance, B is incredibly dangerous. He gives the hatchling a serious lecture, telling it that even though it is strong, it must never do anything reckless. He worries that if anything happens to the baby, the ancient dragon back in the cave will be furious with him. As Takaru watches the little reptile fall fast asleep, he can't help but complain a little to the god who sent him to this world. He had asked for a cute partner, but he feels like the god chose a reptile just to mess with him. The next morning, the forest looks completely different. The creepy, oppressive atmosphere from the day before has vanished, replaced by a much more welcoming environment. Takaru isn't sure why the change happened, but he decides not to question the mysteries of another world. He begins his work as a gatherer, using his search magic to locate valuable rank C herbs and materials. Suddenly, B begins to freak out, sensing danger. Takaru uses his magic to look for aggressive monsters nearby. He wonders if his own scent, which previously kept monsters away, has finally worn off. A rock falcon, a large and ferocious carnivorous bird, swoops down from the sky. The creature is known for targeting people's eyes with its sharp beak. However, after seeing the massive ancient dragon, Takaru finds this bird almost cute. He views the bird not as a threat, but as a flying ingredient, noting that its meat is rich and sweet with fat. He quickly deploys his shield and fires ice needles, taking the monster down and securing a fresh supply of meat. The hunt continues as more monsters appear. 6 serpent wolves emerge from the brush, dangerous predators that attack with snake-like tails filled with paralytic poison. Takeru uses a combination of spells to handle the situation. He uses reduction to make his own body lighter and more agile, and harden to strengthen his limbs for combat. He kicks the wolves away with his magically enhanced legs, but he soon grows tired of the constant fighting. He realizes he cannot fight his way through the entire forest without getting exhausted. Seeing his struggle, B grabs Takaru and attempts to fly. The little dragon is surprisingly strong, but it struggles with Takaru's full weight. Takeru quickly casts reduction on both of them to make them lighter. The sudden change in weight causes them to shoot way too high into the air. B eventually drops Takeru, but thanks to the magic, he lands safely at their previous campsite. He realizes B was just trying to help him reach a safe zone quickly. He thanks the dragon, but asks it to be a bit more gentle with his human body in the future. As they resume their walk toward the village, Takaru finds a mysterious branch in his bag. His search magic identifies it as a rank SS Yggdrasil branch, a piece of the legendary world tree. It is currently dormant and looks like a simple stick. However, B suddenly blows a breath filled with mana onto the wood. The branch reacts instantly, transforming into a magic staff. Takaru is confused and a bit annoyed, as he considers himself a simple material gatherer and has no desire to look like a flashy, high-level mage. Just then, a sudden, deep growl echoes through the trees, and B dashes toward the sound. Takaru follows, expecting a fight, but instead finds an elf lying on the ground in terrible condition. He initially fears she was attacked by a beast, but he soon realizes the growling sound was actually her stomach. She hasn't eaten in 3 days. Takeru gives her some water and a special bento lunch he received from an innkeeper. The elf devours the food, claiming it tastes like she is ascending to heaven. However, the romantic image Takeru had of elves, smelling like peppermint and spring breezes, is shattered when he realizes she smells like manure from camping out for so long. When he accidentally mentions this out loud, the elf becomes deeply offended. She thanks him for the food, but calls him rude before stomping away in a hurry. Takeru is left baffled by the disappointing encounter. Finally reaching the main road, Takeru and B encounter a carriage pulled by a unicorn. A friendly man named Porun is driving the carriage with his wife, Eliza, and their children. They offer Takaru a ride to the village. Takaru is worried his large size will make the carriage cramped, but the family insists on helping him. He notices a magic stone on the carriage, which Porun explains is a security device that alerts them to bandits. Since it stayed silent, they knew Takaru was safe. During the ride, the children hear B chirping inside Takaru's clothes. He eventually shows the dragon to the family, though he carefully hides the fact that it is the child of an ancient dragon, simply calling it a black dragon hatchling. The family is amazed, noting that while dragon knights exist, seeing an actual dragon is incredibly rare. Takaru thinks to himself that a dragon knight sounds like a classic RPG character he would love to see. When night falls, they set up a shared camp. Takeru uses his magic stones to create a barrier that keeps monsters away, which earns him the admiration of the family. To show his gratitude for the ride, he offers to cook dinner for everyone. He pulls a variety of ingredients from his item box, preparing meat soup, steaks, and a fresh salad. The meal is a massive success. Porin is so moved by the flavor that he actually begins to cry. He explains that after eating nothing but dry jerky on the road, seeing his children so happy while eating a feast is too much for his heart to handle. He calls Takeru a wizard of taste, a title that makes Takeru laugh. As they all settle down to sleep, Takeru reflects on how much better it feels to eat and laugh with others compared to the silence of eating alone back on Earth. For the first time since arriving in this world, he feels like he is truly happy. The sun begins to rise over the campsite, and Takeru is already awake, feeling a sense of peace as he works. He sits quietly, carefully maintaining his scissors and sharpening the blades. He thinks to himself that taking care of his tools is a relaxing process, and realizes that the life of a material gatherer truly suits his personality. Eliza is also awake and notices Takeru's dedication. She tells the young man that those who respect their tools always produce the best work. After a quick breakfast, the group sets off for the final leg of their journey back to the village. As they travel, Takeru asks Porin if he can try leading the carriage. The unicorn takes an immediate liking to him and follows his directions perfectly. Porin is impressed, noting how quickly the animal trusted him. Bee wakes up from a nap just as the familiar buildings of Tormy Village appear on the horizon. When they arrive at the entrance, the family expresses their deep gratitude. Takeru tells them that he is the one who should be thankful, since their ride saved him from a long walk. The children wave goodbye as they head home, leaving Takeru with a warm feeling in his chest. At the village gate, Takeru stops to chat with the gatekeeper. They talk about Porin, and the guard explains that the man's return is a sign that spring has finally arrived. He reveals that Porin spends his winters in warmer regions doing weaving work just to survive. It is a difficult life with very little food, which helps Takeru understand why the man was so emotional over a simple bowl of hot soup. Takeru feels lucky to have his gathering abilities, which keep him from ever going hungry. The gatekeeper then reminds him to report his findings to Jerome, the local shop owner. Takeru heads to the shop and presents the materials he found, including a piece of mithril magic ore that he secretly tucked into the pile just to see how Jerome would react. The shop owner stares at the stone for a long time, groaning in disbelief. He eventually tells Takeru that the rock is the stuff of legends, a mass of concentrated mana so powerful that just a few pieces could power the magic stones for an entire kingdom. Takeru is shocked by its value, admitting he just stumbled across it. Jerome praises his luck and talent but tells him that he lacks common sense regarding the world's standards. He advises Takeru to head to a much larger city called Belkheim, where he can find an adventurer's guild and learn how things really work. Back at the inn, Takeru spends time researching guilds in a book. He learns that adventurers are divided into different roles like combat and support. He decides that his goal is to join the guild in Belkheim so he can earn money while traveling and seeing the world. However, he doesn't want to rush his departure from the village that has been so kind to him. Over the next few days, he prepares for his trip. An old woman from the village gives him a huge supply of soup stock powder made from monster bones. She packs him enough food to last the month-long journey, and Takeru is grateful for his infinite item box that allows him to carry it all. Before leaving, Takeru wants to do something special for the village. He takes the mithril magic ore that Jerome couldn't afford to buy and decides to turn it into a gift. He uses his magic to fuse and shape the ore, focusing his mind on a specific design. After a successful scan, he confirms the tool is perfect. The next morning, the entire village gathers to see him off. He approaches the gatekeeper and hands him a magic tool. He explains that it will project a protective barrier around the village to keep out anyone with malicious intent. He tells them it is a wish for their safety until he returns. Before they can argue or try to pay him, Takeru says a quick goodbye and runs off toward the forest with Bee. The journey is peaceful at first, but the tranquility is broken when Takeru encounters 3 massive crabs. These rank sea monsters are giant, burrowing creatures that move surprisingly fast. Takeru scans them and learns they are edible, which immediately makes him hungry for crab meat. As the crabs charge straight toward them, Bee suddenly unleashes a powerful sound attack that disorients one of the monsters. Then, as 2 of the crabs prepare to pounce, Bee flies with incredible speed, causing the 2 monsters to crash violently into each other. Takeru takes the opportunity to finish off the last standing crab by striking it with his magic staff. After the battle, Takeru uses his skills to prepare the catch. He hardens his hands to handle the sharp shells and uses a large pot to boil the meat with plenty of salt. He and B feast on the delicious crab meat. Takeru tells his dragon partner that they should keep traveling and exploring, just so they can taste even more amazing food like this. They continue their trek until they finally see the massive, beautiful stone walls of Belkaim, the commercial capital of the kingdom. At the city gates, Takeru uses magic to make his item bag look like a normal pack. He waits in line for inspection, telling B to stay hidden for a moment. The gate inspector uses a magic spell called Avarice to check if Takeru has any bad intentions. Takeru uses his own scan magic to see what the inspector sees. He realizes his status looks very basic and bare bones to others, hiding all the powerful gifts he received from the god. When the inspector notices a note about a dragon blessing, Takeru shows him B. The inspector finds the tiny dragon cute and asks for some proof of ownership. Takeru uses a charm given to him by the village kids as a temporary tag, and the inspector clears him to enter. Takeru heads straight to the Adventurers Guild. Inside, he meets a cheerful receptionist named Ariana. She asks him to fill out a registration form. Takeru realizes he has never written in this language before, but a skill automatically translates his thoughts onto the paper. When Ariana asks if he has combat experience, Takeru mentions the giant bird, the wolves, and the tasty crab. To provide proof, he decides to pull the crab out of his item box. However, he underestimates the size of the creature, and the massive shell completely crushes Ariana's desk, causing a loud crash that draws the attention of everyone in the hall. A large, bear-like man rushes over to see what the commotion is about. He is surprised to see such a high-quality crab being used as a rookie's proof. He uses his own version of Avarice on Takeru and announces to the room that the young man is blue, meaning his soul is clean and free of ill intent. The guild members are impressed, whispering about the skilled gatherer who has a real dragon as a partner. Ariana takes Takeru to a side room to finish the paperwork away from the staring crowd. She officially registers him as an F-rank adventurer and gives him a bracelet. Takeru smiles, noticing that his new guild bracelet matches the charm on B's tail. After spending 2 weeks settling into the city of Belkaim, Takeru finds his rhythm as a gatherer. He stands at the counter of the Adventurers Guild, presenting his latest haul to one of the managers. His collection is impressive, consisting of several rare leaves and roots, along with a large quantity of mushrooms. The guild official is surprised by the sheer size of the mushrooms and notes that their regular client has been praising Takeru's work. In fact, the client is so impressed that they have requested him specifically for future jobs. Takeru responds politely, saying he is honored by the recognition. Ariana soon joins them, carrying a thick stack of papers. She explains that a large number of job requests have come in specifically for Takeru. While he admits that he cannot possibly handle all of them, he agrees to take on a select few. Ariana is visibly relieved, thanking him before rushing off to inform the clients. To wash away the day's labor, Takeru visits a public bathhouse. As he soaks in the hot water, he reflects on how wonderful it is to end a tiring day with such a luxury. His relaxation is interrupted when Clay, a lizardman warrior, enters the bath. Clay mentions that his old scars are acting up, a sign that it will likely rain soon. He then pivots to a rumor he heard that Takeru treated a sick person in the slums for free. Takeru tries to downplay it, explaining that he was simply mimicking techniques he had seen before. Clay is surprised by Takeru's selflessness, pointing out that healers who charge for their services might start to resent him if he keeps giving away his work for free. He then asks if Takeru has received any notices about raising his adventurer rank. Takeru admits that he has no interest in moving up, as he is happy with his current life. Clay warns him that staying at a low rank while possessing such high skills will only draw more unwanted attention. He suggests that Takeru needs to learn more about the complexities of the world. Later in the guild office, the manager once again tries to convince Takeru to advance his rank. He argues that a high rank is easily within Takeru's reach, but Takeru remains firm in his refusal. Internally, Takeru worries that moving up the ladder will only bring more trouble. He values his peace above all else, and believes that staying at rank F is the best way to maintain his quiet lifestyle. The peaceful atmosphere of the guild is shattered when a man bursts in, shouting that goblins are attacking. The guildmaster immediately takes command, ordering all adventurers rank D and higher to gather at the North Station. He calls for every available doctor and healing magician to prepare for casualties. He checks on which A-rank adventurers are in the city and is disappointed to find most are away, though he is relieved to hear that Clay is present. Takeru watches the chaos from the sidelines, feeling that as a rank F gatherer, this conflict has nothing to do with him. He views the other adventurers as intense, athletic types that he, a liberal arts person at heart, cannot relate to. However, his attempt to blend into the background fails when the guildmaster notices him and demands that he come along as well. During the emergency meeting, a couple of arrogant adventurers mock Takeru for his low rank, telling him not to get in their way. The guildmaster, however, reveals that he has heard great things about Takeru from Grit. He observes that Takeru is the only person not intimidated by his presence, and suggests that the young man is more impressive than he appears. He tells Takeru to simply protect what he wants to protect, and leaves the rest to his assistant, Muesli. As they set up a camp in the rear of the battlefield, Takeru finds himself with Muesli, who is paralyzed with fear. She clings to him, repeatedly insisting that she isn't scared even though her body is shaking. Takeru realizes he needs to calm her down so she doesn't become a liability. He gently explains that it is perfectly natural to be afraid on a battlefield where people are trying to kill each other. He tells her that being scared is not something to be ashamed of, and that they only fight back because of that very fear. His words give her the strength she needs, and she vows to do her best to heal the wounded. Clay is also nearby, and he admits to Takeru that he was impressed by the speech. He confesses that his old scars are hurting so much that his body won't move properly. When Takeru asks if the scars are a badge of honor, Clay scoffs, suggesting they are a sign of shame from running away. Takeru disagrees, pointing out that if he got those scars while defending someone, then they are proof that he is alive and able to protect others now. Suddenly, a loud crash echoes across the plains. The front lines have been breached. Clay decides to head out, promising to protect Takeru even if his own body breaks. Takeru watches Muesli bravely tending to the wounded and realizes he can no longer prioritize his own peace. He activates a powerful barrier and magic shield to secure the medical area, telling Muesli that the walls will keep her safe while he goes to help Clay. Takeru enters the fray, using magic to harden his limbs so he can strike the goblins. He finds the experience of fighting human-like creatures difficult, but he pushes through the discomfort. He enlists the help of his companion, B, who uses powerful electricity to wipe out waves of enemies. He learns from retreating adventurers that the front line collapsed because of a high-ranking goblin sergeant. Takeru finds Clay in a desperate state, surrounded and on the verge of death. Clay tells Takeru to run and save himself, promising to buy him time. Takeru ignores the plea and instead asks Clay if those scars on his back are precious to him or if he would mind if they were erased. When Clay expresses his hatred for them, Takeru takes action. He pours highly concentrated magic element water over Clay's back and casts a powerful healing spell. The effect is instantaneous and transformative. Clay's body begins to change, evolving into a much more powerful dragon newt form. With his youth and strength restored, Clay laughs with joy and easily obliterates the remaining goblins and their sergeant. After the battle, the guildmaster questions Takeru about the source of Clay's sudden power surge. Takeru tries to play it cool, claiming he only used a bit of healing magic, but the guildmaster knows he saw much larger spells being cast. Takeru internally credits B for the flashier magic. The guildmaster decides not to push too hard for now, simply thanking Takeru and promising that the guild will reward his actions. Back in Takeru's room, a frantic Clay demands an explanation. He is still vibrating with an intense power he can't quite control. Takeru explains that he used water from an underground lake belonging to an ancient dragon, B's parent, which is connected to his magic bag. He tells Clay that his healing magic is more effective because he visualizes the body's internal composition, specifically the nerves in the back. Realizing he can trust the lizard man, Takeru finally reveals his greatest secret. He is from another world. He explains the concept of reincarnation, telling Clay how he died in his previous life and was reborn in this body. Clay is stunned by the preposterous story, but realizes it explains Takeru's strange and immense powers. Clay warns Takeru that he treats his own incredible abilities too casually and that he needs to be more careful about the impact he has on the world. The next day, Takeru wanders into the craftsman's district. The air is hot with the smell of coal and metal. He finds a weapon shop, intending to buy a high-quality pair of scissors to help with his gathering work. The clerk welcomes him, asking if anything in the shop catches his eye. Takeru stands before the girl and wastes no time in stating his business. He asks if the shop happens to carry any scissors specifically designed for gathering materials. The girl, whose name is Ribble, explains that they do not stock items like that. However, her eyes light up when she realizes she is speaking to the material gatherer whose reputation has been spreading through the city. She introduces herself and offers to help, mentioning that her master, Grusus, is a legendary blacksmith who might be able to craft exactly what Takeru needs. As Ribble leads him toward the back of the forge, Takeru watches the smiths at work, captivated by the dancing flames and the rhythmic sound of hammers hitting glowing metal. Ribble admits that she fell in love with that fire long ago and dreams of one day forging a sword fit for a true hero. Takeru offers her a kind word of encouragement, hoping her dream comes true. They eventually reach the office of the boss, a stern and imposing man. Ribble introduces Takeru as the famous gatherer, but Grusus remains unimpressed, noting that newcomers often have inflated reputations. The conversation quickly turns to a prestigious craftsman's exhibition. Ribble suggests that Takeru could fetch Ildra ore for the sword they plan to enter, but Grusus immediately shuts the idea down. He explains that the only place to find such ore is the Ryuhai mine, a location that has become far too dangerous. The two begin to argue loudly, with Ribble calling her master a stubborn mule and Grusus insisting that a smith must value human life above their craft. He reveals that rumors of demons and strange disturbances have caused the supply of Ildra ore to vanish. Despite the danger, Takeru makes an offer. He tells the master that if he successfully brings back the ore, he wants a pair of custom scissors as a reward, ones that only he can use. To prove he is capable, he shows Grusus the massive crab claws he harvested from a previous battle. Recognizing the strength required to defeat such a beast, Grusus reluctantly agrees to the deal. Takeru begins his journey toward the mine by boarding a carriage heading for Ebuira village. During the ride, he listens to the other passengers gossiping about strange events, such as poisonous herbs suddenly withering and disturbances in the white forests. He wonders briefly if his own actions might have caused these changes, but tries to push the thought aside. When the carriage stops, he notices a horse trader and feels a small pang of desire to one day travel on horseback rather than on foot. His attention is soon drawn to a loud, frustrated female voice nearby. He follows the sound and finds the same elf he had rescued from starvation once before. She is arguing with a horse dealer, claiming she asked for a pure white steed that could gallop through the heavens, yet he is trying to sell her a giant white raven. The dealer calmly explains that in these parts, anything that can carry cargo is called a horse. The elf, realizing her mistake, apologizes. As Takeru heads into the forest to gather ingredients, he eventually hears a familiar sound, the loud rumbling of a hungry stomach. He finds the elf collapsed on the ground once again, begging for water. After helping her up, he is struck by the powerful, unpleasant smell clinging to her. He immediately activates his clean magic, much to her shock. He tells her that he simply couldn't stand to see the graceful image of the elven race fall apart any further. The elf introduces herself as Brolight. She insists on repaying him for his kindness, and despite Takeru's attempts to decline, she vows to assist him with his work until they reach the next town. The partnership proves to be a bit of a challenge for Takeru. Brolight tries her best to find useful items, but she repeatedly brings him things like rocks she thinks are special ore, or, more unfortunately, a handful of poop. Takeru patiently explains that one is just a stone, and the other is literal waste. He reflects on the fact that her mental age seems to be about the same as B. As night falls, Brolight offers to gather firewood. Takeru tries to tell her it isn't necessary because he has magic stones for heat, but the elf explains an important rule of the road. Leaving traces of a campfire is a signal to other travelers that a spot is safe for camping. Takeru appreciates the wisdom, but he is stunned when she returns carrying an entire massive log instead of small branches. She proceeds to chop the log into perfect firewood with ease, showing off her impressive strength and her high-rank swords. For dinner, Takeru prepares a rich broth with chewy white dumplings. Brolight is moved to tears by the delicious flavor, claiming it is the most incredible thing she has ever tasted. They talk about their destinations, and Brolight reveals she is searching for a white Pegasus for her sister. Takeru formally hires her as his bodyguard for the rest of the trip, an offer she accepts with great solemnity and a prayer to her goddess. The following day, they reach the border of the Dwarven Kingdom, marked by a river and a towering mountain range. Takeru notes that the peaks remind him of mountains from his original home. They stop at a restaurant to eat a dwarven specialty. Brolight mentions that a friend of hers, a lizard man, recommended the dish to her. Takeru is surprised by the coincidence, as he also knows a lizard man. Brolight explains that her friend is a holy knight with the title of Honorary Dragon King. Just as she mentions that he was heading for Belkaim, a deep voice speaks from behind them. Clay appears, noting that fate certainly has a sense of humor. Takeru is shocked to see Clay standing there. Clay scolds Takeru for leaving town without a proper word, though Takeru insists he reported his travel to the guild. When Clay learns that Takeru is heading into the Ryuhai mine for Ildra Ore, he becomes concerned. He tells Takeru that the location is far too dangerous for someone of his rank. Takeru defends his mission, explaining that the reward is the ultimate pair of scissors from Master Grusus. Clay is baffled by Takeru's priorities, wondering if the young man is truly kind-hearted or just hopelessly naive for valuing scissors over a legendary sword. Nevertheless, Clay decides to join the party, claiming he needs to have his spear repaired in the kingdom anyway. He agrees to act as a second bodyguard, leaving Takeru feeling a mix of gratitude and deep anxiety about traveling with such a powerful but eccentric duo. When they arrive at the entrance to the Dwarven Kingdom, they find a massive crowd waiting to get in. However, Clay's reputation as a hero grants them VIP treatment. A dwarf guard guides them into the city, which is built entirely inside a series of underground caves. Takeru is stunned by the scale of the subterranean civilization. As they walk, they pass a massive statue dedicated to Clay. Takeru teases him about it, noting that the statue doesn't actually look much like him, which Clay finds even more embarrassing since his name is clearly carved into the base. They are granted an audience with King Zorwadin. Takeru presents a letter of introduction from Grusus, and the king acknowledges that he knows the blacksmith well. The king warns them that a recent tremor has turned the mine into a den of demons, but Clay and Brolight both vouch for Takeru's safety. Seeing their confidence, the king officially tasks the group with uncovering the truth behind the demonic disturbances. Takeru is annoyed that a simple gathering job has turned into a grand investigation, but Clay accepts the mission before Takeru can protest. A receptionist named Zambo leads them into the pitch-black tunnels of the mine. As they travel deeper, the air grows heavy with magic. After defeating a few wandering monsters, Takeru decides to try a more direct approach to mining. He uses his magic to create a barrier and harden the rock surface before triggering a massive eruption spell. The explosion clears the debris, revealing a vein of incredibly rare Ildrite. Zambo is speechless, as the material is far more valuable than the ore they were looking for. However, the celebration is cut short by a heavy, approaching sound. Zambo trembles, sensing the demon of the mine. Takeru steps forward, asking his bodyguards to let him handle this opponent. He looks into the darkness as a monstrous crab emerges, and with a glint in his eye, he declares that he has finally found his true prey. Takeru struggles to contain his excitement, telling B to stay steady because the creature looks fresh enough to be served as raw sashimi. Clay and Brolight, however, view the situation with far more gravity. Clay identifies the beast as a Trango crab, a ferocious rank A monster that usually requires an entire squad of high-level adventurers to suppress. Brolight calls for everyone to prepare for a desperate struggle, but Takeru is already moving. He asks B to cover him while strictly forbidding the use of fire or lightning magic, fearing that high temperatures might spoil the quality of the delicate meat. Takeru activates his reduction magic and hardens his limbs, striking the crab with a physical blow that feels like hitting solid steel. He realizes the shell is tougher than expected, but refuses to be deterred. B assists by freezing the crab's massive limbs, pinning it in place. Using his scan ability, Takeru locates a specific weak point and pierces it with an ice needle spell. The monster is encased in a block of ice, its reign of terror ending not with a roar, but with Takeru offering a quiet prayer for it to rest in peace. After the fight, Clay confronts Takeru with a stern expression. He asks why Takeru and B took on such a dangerous foe without waiting for the rest of the team. Takeru admits he got carried away, explaining that he didn't want their mud-covered weapons to ruin the edible parts of the crab. Clay is momentarily stunned by the idea that Takeru actually plans to eat a rank A disaster, but he quickly pivots back to his duty. He reminds Takeru that he is his bodyguard and that a leader must trust his allies. He insists that Takeru rely on them more in the future. Takeru offers a sincere apology, and the group prepares to haul the frozen delicacy back to the surface. Before leaving, Takeru notices even stronger magical readings deeper in the mine, suggesting his previous purification of the land is causing ripples of change throughout the world, hopefully for the better. Back at the palace, the king is skeptical until Takeru presents the frozen giant crab. Zambo eagerly confirms the story, swearing he didn't blink once during the legendary battle. Impressed by the removal of the mine's demon, the king offers a grand reward. Takeru, true to his word, asks only to keep the crab as his prize. The rest of the group receives more traditional honors. Brolight is gifted a magnificent Pegasus with a glossy coat, which she intends to bring home to his sister. Clay's spear is expertly repaired by the royal smiths, appearing more splendid than ever. As they prepare to leave in their carriage, Brolight bids them a dramatic farewell, telling them to keep their necks clean until they meet again. Takaru notes that such a phrase is usually reserved for enemies, but he accepts the sentiment nonetheless. Returning to the Adventurers Guild, they are greeted by Ariana, who is shocked to see the legendary Clayston still following Takeru. Clay announces that he has decided to form a team with Takeru on a temporary but indefinite basis, citing a need to keep an eye on Takeru's eccentric behavior. After some deliberation, they settle on a name for their new group, the Azure Black Brigade. Takeru then visits the blacksmiths, Grusas, and Ribble to deliver the high-purity Ildrite. The two smiths fall into a state of emotional shock, weeping at the sight of such rare material. Grusas admits that in over a century of forging, he has never seen Ildrite of this quality. Takeru realizes that providing exactly what a client needs is more important than the market price, and he begins to feel a true sense of pride in his work as a gatherer. He refuses immediate payment, asking instead that they use the stones to forge a world-class sword for the upcoming showcase and a custom pair of scissors for his own use. Half a month passes in relative peace until Wade, the bear man, tracks Takaru down with an official summons. The letter bears the wax seal of House Lucelivach, the high-ranking noble family that rules the territory. Takaru immediately feels a stomachache, sensing that involvement with high nobility only leads to trouble. However, Wade reassures him that Lord Belmonent is a decent man. The letter invites both Takaru and Clay to the manor to receive honors for their actions on the Stavro Plains. Clay suspects the Lord simply wants an excuse to see Takaru's young dragon, B. As they ride through the city in a fancy noble carriage, Takaru is overwhelmed by the attention from the commoners and the sheer scale of the noble quarter. Upon entering the estate, they are met by a young girl named Tiaris, the Lord's daughter. She immediately demands that Takeru hand over B, claiming that only a noble is fit to own such a creature. Takeru flatly refuses, which leads to a confusing back and forth, until Takeru asks why she feels entitled to the dragon. Tiaris reveals that a man named Bernard told her adventurers are ignorant and must be made to obey through dignity. Takaru patiently explains that B is his family, not a pet. This revelation softens Tiaris instantly. She realizes B can understand human speech and feels terrible for her earlier cruelty, offering a tearful apology. She confesses that she only wanted the dragon to lift the spirits of her mother, who is very ill. At that moment, Lord Belmonent appears. Takeru is surprised by how young and handsome the Lord is. In a private meeting, Lord Belmonent apologizes for his daughter's behavior and gets straight to the point. He has heard rumors of Takaru's mysterious healing abilities, specifically how he restored the health of a frail tenant in the slums. He reveals that his wife, Teria, has been bedridden for 6 months and begs Takaru to save her. Takaru hesitates, knowing that his magic is powerful enough to evolve creatures like Clay, and he fears what a lack of balance might do to a human. Clay, moved by the daughter's kindness, stares at Takaru with teary eyes, silently urging him to help. Feeling the pressure of the noble's plea and Clay's guilt-tripping, Takeru reluctantly agrees to see the patient. They enter a dark, stale-smelling room where Teria lies. She is so sensitive to light that the curtains must remain tightly shut. Takeru uses his abilities to assess her condition and discovers a complex list of symptoms: joint pain, dizziness, stomach aches, and a mysterious condition his system identifies as Ivor poisoning. Teria speaks weakly, saying she doesn't expect a miracle but wishes only to hold her daughter one last time. Takeru realizes that he is now holding a life in his hands. He asks the Lord if he truly trusts an unknown adventurer with the life of his wife. Belmonent confirms his trust with a plea for help, and Takeru finally steels his resolve to perform the treatment. Clay watches closely, wondering if Takeru intends to use the same intense healing technique that once closed his own wounds. Takeru explains that he cannot use that specific spell because it consumes a massive amount of the patient's internal mana. In her current fragile state, Lady Teria likely lacks the strength to survive such a process. Instead, he decides on a more gradual, cautious approach. He starts by focusing on her eyes, intending to fix her extreme light sensitivity first. He gathers his mana, being careful to keep the flow soft and steady. He knows that if he pushes his energy too quickly, it might cause her physical pain. He gently casts a healing spell, directing the warmth into her tired eyes. After a few moments, he asks her to try opening them. Teria nods and slowly blinks, finding that the brightness no longer stings. Encouraged by this success, Takeru uses his magic to instantly clean the entire room, stripping away the dust and the smell of sickness. Belmonent rushes to his wife's side, his voice full of worry as he asks how she feels. Taria smiles, marveling at the fact that the light no longer causes her agony. She reaches out for her husband, and for the first time in months, there is a glimmer of hope in the room. Feeling that the immediate crisis is over, Takeru suggests they move elsewhere to discuss the root of the problem. Once they are in a more private setting, Takeru reveals the grim truth. Taria is suffering from Ivor poisoning. He explains that she has been slowly ingesting a toxin, which means someone in the manor has likely been poisoning her intentionally. Belmonent is horrified by the implication. Takeru admits that he does not understand the biology of this specific poison and therefore cannot fully cure her yet. He asks if there is an antidote available. Belmonent reveals that Ivor toxin is a forbidden substance from an ancient era. Both the poison and its cure were lost to history long ago. Takeru refuses to give up and suggests they simply create a new antidote. To do that, they need the original flower the toxin comes from. Clay points out that the ingredients are likely extinct, but Belmonent remembers ancient documents left by his ancestors. These records are written in an old script that no one has been able to decipher. Takeru realizes his unique skills allow him to read such texts. He uses a specialized search magic to scan the library for keywords. He quickly finds a match in a diary belonging to an adventurer named Pola Pola. As Takeru reads it aloud, he has to adapt his voice to match the incredibly bubbly and enthusiastic tone of the writing. The diary describes a sunny day where the adventurer found a sparkly gold Ivor flower growing on a horse-shaped rock near a large lake. Clay recognizes the description immediately. He identifies the location as a lake near a village called Asheth in the Vanon region. It is a 5-day journey by carriage, but Takeru insists they leave at once to save the lady's life. Before they depart, Takeru places a yellow crystal near Taria's room. Clay is curious, and Takeru explains that it is a safeguard. Since they know a traitor is in the house, he wants to be prepared in case someone tries to finish the job while they are gone. As they prepare to mount their horses, Tiaris runs out to find them. The young girl is humble and tearful as she apologizes to Takeru for her earlier rudeness. Takeru is kind to her, telling her that realizing one's mistakes is something to be proud of because it allows a person to grow. He teaches her a concept from his own world: report, contact, and consult, or ho ren so. He tells her that if anyone tries to turn her against them or tells her suspicious things, she should not react right away, but instead go straight to her father. Tiaris promises to think for herself and follow his advice. With the horses ready, Takeru casts speed and weight reduction spells on the party. Clay is shocked by how light his body feels as they take off at a staggering pace, reaching their destination much faster than a normal carriage ever could. When they arrive at the Vanon region, the landscape is not the lush farming area Clay remembers. The ground is cracked and dry, and it looks as though rain has not fallen for a long time. Takeru fears the lake might have disappeared, but Clay insists a body of water that large couldn't just vanish. They continue until Takeru scans Lake Galeus, the region's only water source. His magic reveals that the water is tainted with a poison extracted from buffalo horns. He realizes that this ecological disaster was created on purpose. They are soon confronted by suspicious villagers. Clay shows his high-ranking adventurer bracelet to prove they aren't enemies. One of the village children, Gonza, collapses from weakness. Takeru notices how light and malnourished the boy is. The villagers invite them inside and tell a tragic story. 10 months ago, the lake turned a cursed color, killing the fish and ruining the wells. A merchant named Engash appeared, offering water in exchange for a divine flower that grows by the lake. Takeru explains that they have been deceived. He points out that it is far too convenient for a merchant to appear with water right as the lake was poisoned. He reveals that the divine flower is actually the source of a deadly toxin, and that the contamination of the lake was deliberate. The villagers are crushed to learn their savior is actually a monster who let their children go hungry for his own gain. Takeru is furious at the cruelty of the scheme and vows to crush Engash's plans. He directs B to use spirit magic to create a massive rainstorm, bringing a blessing to the parched earth. He then follows up with spells to clean the villagers and repair their crumbling homes before hosting a giant cookout to feed everyone. As the villagers eat their fill, Takeru asks for permission to harvest the Ivor flowers. The village chief gratefully agrees to show them the way. While they wait, the children drag Takeru to see their secret base, which is actually a barn filled with Lida's fruit. The kids explain that the fruit is trash because it is too salty to eat, even though the nectar from the flowers is sweet. Curious, Takaru tastes the fruit and is hit with a wave of nostalgia. The juice tastes exactly like soy sauce. Meanwhile, back at the manor, the alarm Takaru set suddenly triggers. Tiaris hears the sound and remembers Takeru's warning about anyone with ill intent approaching her mother. A servant named Bernard approaches her, trying to manipulate her. He tells her that adventurers are greedy liars and that she should only trust loyal servants like him. Tiaris stands her ground, defending Takaru's kindness and respect. Then Belmonent arrives, and Tiaris immediately practices her Ho-Renso, telling her father everything. The Lord decides to test Bernard's loyalty. He presents a cup of the special water Bernard had been providing for Taria's treatment, and tells him to drink it. Bernard hesitates and begins to tremble, unable to consume his own poison. Belmonent reveals it was actually just regular water, but Bernard's reaction has proven his guilt. As the traitor is dragged away, the butler finds a ciphered letter in Bernard's things, suggesting he is part of a much larger and more dangerous organization. The village chief leads Takaru and Clay across sandy ground as the night deepens. Back in the village, the merchant Ungash arrives unexpectedly to collect his monthly quota of flowers. He is annoyed to find the chief is away with adventurers and becomes even more enraged when a villager confronts him about the poison. Realizing his scheme is being uncovered, Ungash orders his men to change plans and finish off the village then and there. Miles away, Bernard sits in a carriage on his way to prison, a dark smile playing on his lips as if everything is still going according to plan. At the same moment, the village chief stops and points ahead. Takaru and Clay look out to see a field of glowing, golden plants. They have finally reached the field of the divine flowers.